Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Brody. I am joined alongside my co-host and good friend, Tony Sapita. And it's Sunday, and Club Dub is wide open for whatever you want to say. The venue is wide open because Club Dub is bumping right now over at Soldier Field on September 19th, 2021. The Chicago Bears beat the Cincinnati Bengals 20-17 in a very unnecessarily close game at the end. The Bears are 1-1 on the season. The Bengals are also 1-1 and are in first place at the time of this recording. By default, the Bears are in first place. We have our big takeaways of the game, what went well, what could be improved, and any more updates from today's game. But before we dive into it, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Stupid Car Tray. Tired of your pizza topping sliding, office coffee distracting you while driving, grease and other stains getting on your seat, or you're just enjoying a game on the couch and don't want to lean over? Look no further than the Stupid Car Tray. Visit www.stupidcartray.com and use discount code J16 to get 16% off your entire order. Link in the description.
Stupid Car Tray saves the day. Head over to the website in our description to get 16% off your entire order.
It's great for Bears games. It saves the day, just like Justin Fields saved the day. I don't know. It was more the defense. The defense definitely saved the day today. Soldiers Field, his first career win. What a day it was. Let's go into the overview real fast. The Chicago Bears beat the Cincinnati Bengals 20-17. The Bears were leading 20-3 at one point. Just need to put that disclaimer out there. The Bears are now 1-1. The Bengals are now 1-1. Justin Fields got a whole lot of playing time today because of Andy Dalton getting injured. More to come on that. We hope Dalton has a very speedy and quick recovery and good recovery. The defense came to life, though. 4 sacks, 3 picks in a row off Joe Burrow, 1 touchdown, a lot of pressure from Joe Burrow. Oh, and also a fumble. You can't forget the fumble that started this whole thing. And they maintained Joe Mixon very well. The game was too close to comfort at the end. Tony, any quick comments before we jump into the offense?
Yeah, and I tweeted out actually just on the Andy Dalton thing. It sucked that was how we saw Justin Fields come in. I wanted it to be a purely a competition thing because that's, never want anyone to get hurt. So yeah, shout out to Andy Dalton. Thanks for starting us off hot, and Justin Fields closing it out.
Yeah, and again, Andy Dalton was taking on his ex-team, so obviously he wants the ball out, and Andy Dalton was balling out until he got hurt. So let's jump into the Chicago offense. Let's start on Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton was injured in the first half of this game after tweaking his leg. Now it's called a knee injury. Justin Fields took over for the rest of the game. Andy Dalton was 9 for 10 for 56 yards, a touchdown, and then 2 rushes for 25 yards. One of those rushes, obviously, he got hurt. He was going out to the sideline, and he planted his left foot, and you can just see his leg like quivered the wrong way. And as they bumped him out, he just came up hobbling. He ended up going back in for another drive. They ended up not getting a touchdown or anything. And then they pulled Dalton entirely. But he was moving the ball really well. There is no denial about that. I think all Bears fans can agree that Andy Dalton was doing a fine job for the Chicago Bears today. Out of the gate, who knows how the game would have gone. But then we're going to go into who went in. Justin Skylar Fields. 6 for 13 with 60 passing yards with a crucial interception in the fourth quarter that brought Cincinnati right back into the game. He had 10 rushes for 31 yards. Tony, I know I'm a little bit more crucial on my take, so I'm going to let you go first to kind of ease into it. But how do you think Justin Fields did today overall in the Bears' first win?
I do think he played well overall, and I know we're going to touch on it when we get into the individual, units on the offense and stuff, but he played well. That interception sucked. That was tough. That was a rookie interception for sure. He didn't see the guy, drop off the defensive line. But he didn't get a lot of help sometimes. And I think that definitely hurt. Like his stat line looks kind of terrible. And I do think that played into it. Like I said, we'll talk about the Al Robinson drop and stuff like that. But overall, I do think you saw progress. You could tell the team was kind of uplifted a little with a guy that could move, make plays. And overall, he did go out and win the game at the end with that rush. So good. I think
I agree
good.
Too.
Yes.
So yeah, I think he did fine. And I know that a lot of people know I'm an Andy Dalton stan in regards to that because of what happened today. Justin Fields made very big crucial mistakes. Now everyone's ready to go to the comments and be like, he's a rookie. I will say this. Allen Robinson was a huge problem for Justin Fields today. 2 drop passes that easily could have been touchdowns. Same with Darnell Mooney was another problem. But Justin Fields had some absolute dimes today in breadbasket. He was moving around. He saved himself on that interception, making that rush at the end of the game that got the Bears that first down that Tony was hitting on. So I'm going to give him a C+ rating. I think Justin Fields, and this is just what drives me crazy, is that, before the game, Justin Fields is the better quarterback. He'll do overall better for the Chicago Bears. He'll do this, and that. And then he goes in and then he starts making mistakes. And the Bears fans are like, well, he's just a rookie. Like, no, I get it. We are the most optimistic and we are the craziest fan base in sports, in my opinion. There is no doubt about that. Justin Fields had a lot of bad breaks today and he made a lot of plays for himself. But this is the Bengals. This is one of the lower defenses in the NFL. It's a great game for him to go in. But you got Cleveland next week, which is going to be an entirely different animal of a defense. Much more proven. Cincinnati is not a proven defense, so kind of worries me, but I'm happy that he got these jitters out this game. So I'm going to give Justin Fields a C+. I think he did fine. For a rookie, he did great. For an NFL quarterback, he did fine. He scrambled a lot. He made things happen. And a lot of people, what we're going to get, I'm just going to go in order. Overall, one thing that really ticked me off is that if you look at Andy Dalton's stats and Justin Fields' stats, you put them together, the Bears only passed for a little over 150 yards today. The play column was still horrible today. It was improved. It was still horrible. Nothing could get worse than last week. So overall, Tony, any more comments on Justin Fields before we go to David Montgomery?
Yeah, one more comment. I think what also doesn't help is the fact that they wouldn't commit to either guy. Obviously, they committed to Andy Dalton, but he is still splitting these reps. He's split all the OTA reps, everything, kind of going into that. So I don't think that helps. And that's on Nagy. That again goes back to
that
Nagy.
Is on Nagy.
And if you're going to commit to Dalton, that's fine. But you can't just be teasing him into first team in practice. You have to give your starting quarterback all the first team reps to get them prepared. Otherwise, you're at a disadvantage.
So yeah, I think you can agree with me. Andy Dalton did a fine job today. He did. He was getting it done before he got hurt. Again, we pray that he has a quick, speedy recovery. Because let me ask you this, and Bears fans, comment below. With how Justin Fields played today, going into Cleveland, again, a top 5 team, or top 5 defense at least, if Andy Dalton's good to go next week, Tony, are you starting Andy Dalton again?
I think you start Justin Fields in practice this week. You treat him as the week 1 starter, let Dalton recover. I think when you come back, if he comes back, like let's say Wednesday, then you see how he's doing out there. If Justin Fields was struggling the first couple of games, I think then you can go back to Dalton. However, I mean, if Justin Fields ends up looking better, you gotta give the fans what they want, I think.
No, and again, I think he got the jitters out. I really think he did. Mm-hmm. And I hope he does better. I want Justin Fields to be the quarterback of the future. He is the quarterback of the future. There's no doubt about that. But it's a very harsh decision. It's a hard decision now if Andy Dalton's able to play next week. And that's something that a lot of people have to consider. You have to take a step back and go, okay, that's how Fields did against Cincinnati. You got Myles Garrett on the other side of the ball. You got a lot of Pro Bowlers on the other side of the ball. Cleveland's a whole nother animal. So let's go to Dave Montgomery real fast. Not as explosive this week, but he did good. He broke a lot of ankles. He got the job done overall. 61 yards on 20 attempts. So about 3 yards per average. But the Bears contained Joe Mixon very well. We'll get into the defense in a little bit. Not a lot of outside runs today by Matt Nagy. So nothing we didn't see what we saw against the Rams. So overall, I think David Montgomery did a fine job today. He got the job done. He got a lot of first downs. Damian Williams also did really well today, in my opinion. He had a lot of good blocks. It wasn't even the plays. It was all about the blocks. Damian Williams did an awesome job, and David Montgomery as well. Let's go into Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney really fast, Tony. Big drops today. I know A-Rob had the first touchdown of the game. Awesome from Andy Dalton. But he dropped 2 more potential touchdowns from Justin Fields. That could have raised the rookie's confidence. It could have made his stat line look a lot better. It could have made this game a lot easier on all the Chicago Bears. Allen Robinson wants to get that big $20 million plus contract next year. You got to be making those plays. So, Tony, overall, what do you think about the wide receivers or our head wide receivers?
Yeah, they didn't necessarily play poorly in a sense, but they did have a couple of those big drops, like you said. And the big thing about those Allen Robinson drops is you're probably not throwing the ball when Justin Fields ends up throwing that interception because you have, 2 extra touchdowns tacked on. Well, they were already up 20-3 at that point. So that'll get fixed. We're going to talk about the defense in a bit. They had a bad game last week. They bounced back. I do think Allen Robinson's a guy that will bounce back. Darnell Mooney, he's still young. There was a couple, they were tough catches. They were off the fingertips. There was the one he should have caught, that crossing route over the middle, kind of like right when Justin Fields came in the second half. There was that one in the back of the end zone that also hit his fingertips, but that was truly like outstretched. That's tough play for anyone. So overall, if you gave Justin Fields a C plus, I'm going to give him a C. The receivers a C minus, just because those drops were almost potentially game changing.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was unacceptable, especially the one where it was literally in Robinson's breadbasket. I think it was completely unacceptable. And if you want to make money like that, and he hasn't had many drops the last couple of years, so just put that into consideration. We don't have that exact stat, but we're sorry about that. But overall, tight ends were also quiet today. But Tony, I know you had a comment about Cole Kmet, and I know that you tweeted about it too.
Yeah, so Cole Kmet, he got called for the softest OPI I've ever seen. It wasn't even, the ball wasn't in the air. There was nothing. It was just kind of a little push off. I think at like 7 yards. So obviously past the 5 yard, the 5 yard marker. But I mean, that pushed them back out of field goal range. It was a first down, actually. It was right after the Allen Robinson drop. But that was really all we saw. There was a dump off on a blitz where he got hit right away as well. I don't know why Matt Nagy acts like Mark Trestman when it comes to tight ends. It makes no sense. Like, we've seen it before. There is a history of coaches not using the tight ends. Greg Olson trading them away. Why use the big guys? Use the guys that are taller than everyone, faster than everyone, more athletic than everyone. That it boggles my mind. Maybe they just weren't open. We got to watch it back, watch the L22. But it was kind of disappointing to see him not try to work those guys in more.
I agree. And, Jimmy Graham was our biggest red zone threat last year. And you're not trying to throw it to him in the red zone. Come on. Like, you're throwing it to a smaller Darnell Mooney. Like, it was mind boggling. I totally agree. Don't be Mark Trestman. We've had to do that before, Matt Nagy. If you want to be improved, don't be Mark Trestman. All I got to say about that. Marquise Goodwin had a good day, though. He had some really sick catches. I mean, that bunny hop one where I felt like he jumped like 5 feet in the air. Like standing vertical. Like, it was absolutely insane. Marquise Goodwin is looking like a better and better acquisition every day. Talking about good acquisitions, Jason Peters, the 39-year-old left tackle who was questionable entering this game and played another great game by him. He looked good. He looked like the Jason Peters of the Eagles. And again, against a less proven Cincinnati defense, he was doing fine against the Rams last week too. Jason Peters, I think, is looking like a really good acquisition so far this year. Again, it's a 1-year contract. There is no way he's going to come back and play left tackle when he's 40 years old. But overall, the line only gave up 2 sacks today. There was a lot of pressure on Fields at the end. There is no doubt about that. But those guys were gassed. It's the end of the game. But for 3 quarters, where the Bears could have scored a lot more points, the offensive line was holding up their end really well. And, in regards to the running, Matt Nagy just kept running it up the middle. And we have a good interior offensive line. 60 yards up the middle, it's pretty darn good if you ask me. So, Tony, any more thoughts on the offensive line before we go to the defense?
Yeah, I was just going to say the thing you said where Matt Nagy just kept running up the middle. He wasn't giving them an opportunity he wasn't trying to trick anyone. It was just the most like, okay, it is 1st and 10. We are going to run the ball at the middle. It's like, you have to do something a little different, because then they just bring a couple guys in the box and they just attack the middle. And then it's like, oh, why didn't James Daniel get a push on, their defensive lineman and 2 linebackers barreling down at him? I wonder why. And it comes back to Matt Nagy. It really does. Cause you got to mix it up. Do your offensive line when they're hurt that bad, when they're all like a bunch of backups, you have to help them out.
Okay, yeah, I 1000% agree. You have to. Overall, I think that the offensive line is playing much better than last year already. I think a lot of Bears fans are too crucial on the offensive line still. So over the next couple of weeks, we'll see how things play out. But I think they're playing fine for the first 2 weeks. Let's go to the defense, though. The absolute positive of today, they played out of their flipping minds. Joe Burrow had 199 straight passes without a pick. The next 3 passes in a row were interceptions. First one, Roquan Smith, pick 6. Jalen Johnson, first ever career interception. Angelo Blackson, the big man, the stadium was shaking. He got it on a tip from Alec Ogletree. Great job by the Bears defense. And then also Eddie Jackson helped strip out a ball, and it was picked up by Tayshaun Gibson Sr. Awesome day by the defense. 4 takeaways by the defense today. Extremely impressive. And speaking of 4 sacks on Joe Burrow, Robert Quinn, Khalil Mack, Bilal Nichols, and Roquan Smith. Absolutely great day. Tony, quick take on what you think about the defense so far before we go into top 3 things.
I just want to say we were right last week. We said it was just a bad game. They're going to bounce back. I said, we didn't need the witch doctor to turn everyone into frogs. We just had the boys just came back. They played. Sean Desai did an awesome job. He had some great schemes out there where, get some guys open, free runs on the quarterback. Robert Quinn, though,
what a game.
Did a big sack early, and I tweeted, did Robert Quinn earn his money? No, because he handed the Bengals 3 points with that late hit out of bounds. Obviously, a little acting job, but either way, Roquan Smith is the best linebacker in football. Mack and Hicks were true disruptors. Those are my comments.
Yeah, and defensive MVP of the game by us. I mean, offensive MVP, Tony, really fast, who's your offensive MVP? It totally skipped on that segment. Apologies.
Dave Montgomery, he took so many hits and still he was getting hit in the backfield. Again, the Matt Nagy thing, I won't go into it again, but he was just an absolute bell cow today. A lot of drops, a lot of penalties. Justin Fields, I love him, but it's David Montgomery.
And I'm going with Andy Dalton. I don't care what people say. I think Andy Dalton played a great game. It was something that we haven't seen out of a quarterback in a while. The consistency. Andy Dalton wanted to throw it deep, and that's why I'm going with Andy Dalton as offensive MVP. It is what it is. You can't go with Robinson. You can't go with Mooney. You can't go with the tight ends. I guess you could make an argument with Jason Peters for me being 39 years old, doing well, but I'm going with Andy Dalton. I feel like I'm going to get some hate for it, but that's what sports are for, folks. Everyone's got their own opinion. So Roquan Smith, defensive MVP. Tony and I both voted on it. 5 tackles, 3 assists, 1 sack, 1 interception, 1 touchdown. Tony, it's got to be Roquan. It's got to be.
It's got to be Roquan. I'm going to watch back. Maybe Mack and Hicks and some of the defensive linemen were really truly disrupting, just absolutely forcing things outside, whatever it is. But I mean, how can you not give it to the big guy? 53-yard interception return for touchdown. That totally swung the game too, because we were just getting field goals at that point. That was a huge turning point in that game.
Yeah, shout out Cairo Santos too, man. He was just hitting everything today. He's on my fantasy team. Very happy about that. So 3 things that could have been improved. Tony, super fast, 2-minute drill. Let's get it.
Yep. Offensive discipline, too many penalties. I know Justin Fields had a couple false starts, but that's because Sam Mustipher was not snapping him the football. You could tell he was he expected the ball in his hands, didn't get it. There was, they couldn't get the snap off back when Dalton was in, and ended up being they had to call a timeout, then a false start out of the timeout. Just sloppy. But I think it'll get back, and the drops, of course, but I think that'll get improved. Then my second is getting off the field on 3rd down. We talked about it with Robert Quinn. That's okay. Just learn from it. We won the game. But sometimes there's just, they make 2 great plays, 1st and 2nd down. And on 3rd down, they give up an 11-yard pass. It's like, oh man. And then they're on the field for another couple plays. They're tired. And then the last one is Matt Nagy. You can really tell, I know I'm harping on him a lot, but you can tell which plays are scripted, those first, 15, 20 plays that are scripted, and which ones are not. Because once he has to make his own decisions in the game and adjust to what's happening, like I said, he's running the ball twice up the middle. Justin Fields or Andy Dalton has to make a 12, 13-yard pass, and then we punt. So, that has to improve. That's the only one I'm not sure about. The rest, I think they will improve on.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you know what? Charles Tillman said it earlier this week. I forgot on what podcast, but he had a really good point, is that a lot of mistakes that the Bears made against the Rams are fixable. And they fixed a lot of them, especially on the defensive side of the ball this week. I think that the offense is looked better this game. I think the play calling is still questionable, but they look better. My 3 key is, number 1, Justin Fields' overall confidence. Like I kind of said earlier, if he's going to be the starter week 1 in Cleveland, Tony, you raised a great point. He should start all week at practice. Just get those reps in, get used to these guys, get them excited, get that, that energy up. Club Dub's probably going crazy right now. The South Loop is bumping. That's great. But you got to get Justin Fields' confidence up. If Andy Dalton is truly hurt, you need to make sure all the jitters are out. I know he's a rookie, but everyone on Twitter went from Justin Fields is better to Andy Dalton, then he's just a rookie. You got to keep the consistent key up. You got to keep your story straight. Admit when Justin Fields struggles. I admitted when Justin Fields struggled today. I ate my words a little bit because, of course, he had a good drive right after it. But overall, Justin Fields struggled a little bit. And, it's good that he's getting this experience. You need to get his overall confidence up. I'm excited for the kid. Very, very excited for the kid. But overall, he's got to get after it. Number 2 is Tayshaun Gibson. Even though he had the fumble run back, he had another potential game-changing mood play when he taunted a guy that's on the ground that just got popped. Like, come on, man. You're an older guy on the roster. You're setting the example. You don't get taunting calls. And I think Goodell is, soft for this taunting thing. Like, come on. It's football. And, that's what Gibson also grew up on in football. Like, that's a brand new rule. Like, these rookies know that. Overall, I just thought it was silly. And then Robert Quinn, though he is leading the team in 1.5 sacks, he needs to, keep it up and not be a dingo. Like Joe Burrow's a great actor, but what a dingo. Don't act dumb, dummy. Like, just stay away from the guy. And I don't even think Burrow leaned into it. Like, Quinn looked like he leaned more into it. So I don't know. Rub me the wrong way, even though Robert Quinn had a great game. Keep it up, Robert Quinn. That's all I got to say. You are slowly starting to win back the fan base, like 1% at a time. But it's not 10%. It's 1% a game. So you'll be at 16% by the end of the season. So with that, Tony, anything else that you want to hit on before we call it?
No, I think we got it. Go Bears.
Go Bears. What a game. What a game. 1-1, leading the division as of right now. Put your comments below. We want to hear your guys' thoughts. And again, thank you very much for joining this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Rohde, joined alongside Tony Sapita, and we will see you guys next time.